Hey, it's Andrew Downs. I'm proud to support Three Beards Media, and I would love to work with you. If you need merchandise for your company, organization, band, softball team, whatever, I can help. From name brand apparel to promotional items, large orders or small, online stores, and more, I can help your brand stand out. AKC Marketing is local, based in Johnston, and we are an employee-owned business, so our costs are low and our turnaround times are fast. But most importantly, we give you personal service to make sure you get exactly what you're looking for. Email me at andrew@akcmarketing.com or find me on social media and let's make some cool stuff together. Now sit back and enjoy this Three Beards Media podcast.
Red and gold on the edge of the sky, feel the rumble, hear the battle cry. Out in Ames where the storms ignite, we don't back down, we rise and fight. Jack Tri-State's name, yeah, it echoes strong. A story of honor still marches on. Through the rain, through the pain, through the fire we roar. Cause we were built to thrive in the eye of the storm. Feel the ground shake, hear the crowd roar. Cyclone power, can't take no more. Legends rise, this is our norm. We stand tall in the eye of the storm. There's a cyclone brewing on the outskirts tonight. Jack Tribe shakes when the team takes flight. Hilton's rocking, hear the magical. We rise together, we'll never fall. Feel the magic you can't deny. Marcus Stars are taking off straight to the sky. Brent, big play, Kirby making history. When the moment gets tough, that's a cyclone way. Through the trenches, through the lane, through the heat, through the rain. When the storm comes blowing, we embrace the fight. Cause the cyclones strike when the time is right. Feel the cyclones strike when the time is right.
All right, welcome back to the Side of the Storm, where we talk all things Cyclones. We're live from the AKC Marketing Studio with Andrew Downs and sponsored by Revelton Distilling Company out of Osceola, Iowa, and Dan Douglas with Green Beret Realty. I'm Dave Larson here with my Storm Team partner and Cyclone great, the legend, Marcus Pfizer. Good evening, Marcus. How are you?
What's going on, Dave? I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing probably better than I deserve. The weather turned a little bit chilly. Seems like we always have this discussion about weather in central Iowa and compare it to Las Vegas. But I think spring is sprung. I think it's going to be a little cooler this weekend for the Memorial Day weekend for us. How about you?
Oh, I look down in the left corner of my computer and it says 100 degrees, and I'm thinking that's telling me that my computer is overheating. But then I realize that's telling me the temperature outside, so it's not too cool here today.
So you may be staying inside this weekend. Is that what you're saying? And enjoying that new 85-inch television?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, watching the playoffs and the games, the kids tend to come down and take over it and commandeer it and watching their YouTube streams and all of that. But as long as I can get some of the games in, I'm happy.
All
Pretty
right,
much,
so
pretty much.
we hope that Brent will be able to join us, and I really do because I have a surprise for both of you, and I hate to give out one surprise and not the other. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about some player signings. One was huge, and the other was a first in NFL history. Of course, the NBA playoffs are here. We've got our own Tyrese Halliburton, who's playing tonight. Have some coaching and administration news, and again that big surprise that hopefully will not ruin our friendship, but I think will be a lot of fun for you to see and for our viewers and listeners as well. So if you're listening through other means, you may want to jump on and watch through YouTube and take a look at that, but to be able to see the visuals. So, all right, shall we get started? Brock Purdy, 5-year, $265 million with $181 million of that guaranteed. I found it interesting that he was on social media, I think yesterday, or being interviewed, and he just wanted to say, I'm looking forward to the next 6 years. Remember, he still has his 1 year left on his rookie deal before the new deal kicks in. I'm sure that some of the money will be deferred, but Marcus, $53 million a year for Mr. Purdy.
Right, he finally got rewarded for, all of the hard work and everything that he's put his body through. The great play that he's been doing since he's been a starter in San Francisco, and it's great to see. we know we were going to hear a lot about the signing whenever it came down, however much it's going to be. You know, you got as they said, the naysayers, they call him one thing or the other. You know, we just call him the GOAT, and we just love the way he's leading that football team. And you know, hopefully he can get them back to the Super Bowl and eventually win it.
And the astonishing thing is he's not even the highest paid quarterback in the league.
Right.
Dak Prescott, I think, is at 60 million a year. And poor Brock is sitting there at 53 million, but just incredible. You know, earlier, towards the end of last season, there was some speculation about what that number was going to look like.
Mhm.
45 to 50 was sort of what we were both looking at. And here he lands at 53, which is absolutely incredible. And maybe even more importantly, Marcus, no trade clause.
Well, that's big. That's definitely big for him. You know, I guess that's showing, you know, how much he loves being there and respecting, you know, the organization and everything like that. And he understands that it is a business, and you know, if something else comes about and they want to go a different direction, you know, I guess he feels like, you know, he'll be welcome to that. I was surprised to I guess we only know that there's two. You know, LeBron and Bradley Beal are the only. Isn't it LeBron? I think LeBron. Yeah, and Bradley Beal are the only two NBA players that have a no trade clause. So it's a surprise to see that not more players have that. But I mean, I guess you know it's something that some guys welcome, some guys don't. I mean, I really can't tell you why it's that way.
Well, it really creates a lot of leverage for the athlete, right? You know, gets you in a position where you can establish roots in your community and for your team, and then dictate if you are going to be traded. You get the chance to either say, "Yeah, I want to go to X, Y, and Z. I want to play for the Cowboys," or "No, I want to stay in San Francisco."
Well, yeah, yeah. You know, I guess that's more leverage for the player. Um, you know, at that point, you know, I guess you do get to dictate where you want to go in a lot of circumstances. I mean, I guess the Suns try to trade Bradley Beal to the Heat for so long, he wouldn't allow it to happen. But
Hmm.
um, you know, that is a very great asset to be able to have, especially as a quarterback. There's some markets I guess you not necessarily will want to be in, but you know, he's blessed enough to have that kind of cachet, and you know, we're grateful for it for sure.
Didn't Kevin Durant block a trade? Wasn't there some talk about him returning to the Warriors? Was it earlier this season before they picked up Jimmy Butler? And he reneged on
No,
that, saying that no, I'm not
well,
interested in a trade.
he doesn't have a trade a no trade clause, so I don't know if he necessarily blocked it, other than the fact of just saying he wasn't interested in going back to Golden State. I don't know if that was this year or last year. Um, but I recall it. But I don't think he necessarily blocked it. It's just when a guy like Durant comes out and says something like that, then now that takes the leverage from what the team could possibly get or offer. You know, because if the guy's not interested, well, he's not interested in leaving. So why should I give you X, Y, and Z? So I think that's more so of what he did than anything else.
What's y- I saw an article about this, but what's astonishing as well is it wasn't that long ago where Jimmy Garoppolo, I think he was making
Yeah.
$24 million, and that was
Hmm.
too much for the Niners. Which then warned, then they used that year to draft. Oh, what's the kid that's now in
Trey Lance.
Dallas? Trey Lance.
Hmm.
$24 million, and now they've just signed Brock Purdy to a $53 million a year contract. My
Well,
times change.
yeah, but also you got a quarterback that's better than those guys both. So, I mean, I guess you put yourself in that position, and it is what it is. But
Well, I don't know. Jimmy G led him to the Super Bowl. Of course, he only threw like 10 passes, but he got him there.
yeah, they got them there, and then they got them away from there. So I tell you how much they how much faith they had in him. Then he came here to the Raiders for a little bit, and I don't know what that was about.
All right, I want to blow your mind a little bit. So,
Mhm.
question: is Brock Purdy the first billion-dollar NFL player? So,
I don't know. I don't know the concept of how that works in the NFL versus like the NBA.
let me give you some math. So, this
Okay.
contract, 5 years, 265. Okay. Let's say at age 30, he signs another contract, and let's just make some assumptions that that contract is worth 65 million a year. And let's just say it's another 5 year contract. So that's now 325. So in that 10-year span, that's now 690 million. And good quality quarterbacks, and if he takes care of himself like Tom Brady did, so at age 35, let's say he signs a couple of smaller deals that for many NFL teams, that deal will now be 50 million because of the
Mm.
escalating costs of the quarterback position. And so now let's say there's whether it's a couple of 1 year deals or 2 or 3 year deals, whatever. Let's play that out over 5 years. And now that's another 250 million. So between that scenario, we're talking close to $940 million.
Where would Pat Mahomes be on that range?
Well, Patrick Mahomes, I believe, is in the upper 50s. I actually had that up earlier believe it or not, I did some prep for tonight when I when I was looking at this. So, see, Dak is at 61.
No, in terms of career earnings.
Oh, career earnings? That's a good question. His last contract, his guaranteed contract, was worth 208 million. I don't have the total amounts on his money.
Hmm.
So you're right. Dak could potentially be a billion-dollar athlete, but coming back to we're talking Iowa State here, could have
Right.
the first billion-dollar athlete in the NFL. And again, 940 million, I think, is somewhat conservative, possible. And we haven't even talked about the incentives. We've seen him with his advertising deals with Toyota and Ariat and that. So he's probably going to be pretty darn close to that with total earnings throughout his career by the time you include in all the ancillary endorsements and whatnot. And uh, it's pretty amazing to see an Iowa State guy be that guy,
It,
be the billion
yeah,
dollar athlete.
it'd be a lot more sexier if it was more than just on paper. Because
Yeah.
those taxes, you never see them. They
Well,
come out. They
and
come out
especially in
before.
California. In
Oh
California,
yeah,
they're tax heavy.
yeah.
I wonder if you could say, "Can I sign that in Iowa? Can I sign that in Florida?"
Eh, If he wants to get investigated, go right ahead. Or maybe Texas, or come over to Nevada. We don't have income tax here.
There you go.
Come
Are you
to the
trying to get him?
Raiders.
Are you trying to get him go into the Raiders? That's what I thought.
Absolutely, I absolutely love for him to be in the Raiders.
So there's been a lot of stories that are coming out or have been coming out in regards to Brock, and I can't remember if this was in Sports Illustrated or the Atlantic, but one of the story or Athletic, excuse me, but one of the stories that I found interesting. But the night that Brock was drafted, so you go through round one, nothing. Go through round two. Apparently, someone with 49ers had called and said, "We really would like to draft you, and we plan to at some point throughout the night." Of course, he got passed over, passed over. So in the sixth round, apparently Brock went to take a nap. He and his dad went to go take a nap in the back bedroom. Hey, how relaxed can you possibly be on draft night to be able to go take a nap? I just think that says something about Brock and his family, that how calm that they were and relaxed and just going with the flow.
Well, I mean, he knows what kind of person that he is as a player and a person on the porch. being poor and just under pressure and anything like that anyway. So I guess at that point, not feeling like he wasn't going to be selected. Like I've always said, it probably would have been better if he hadn't got drafted, because he would have been unrestricted or undrafted free agent, and he would have got the deal a lot earlier. But it all worked out eventually for him, and we're here now, and I'm excited to see what the season's going to be about.
You, on the flip side, you were, of course, first round lottery pick. What that could you imagine sitting in that room throughout the entire first round? How draining that would be. Can you imagine
Yeah,
these football players sitting through 3 days of waiting for their name to be called?
yeah, that's especially if you were projected or thought you should have gone higher. That's really, really, it seems to be, as we see with Shadur Sanders, is going to be a player every year that occurs with. But I don't think he thought it was going to be that far down with Shadur. I mean, somebody knew something that he didn't even attend the draft, which ultimately, I guess, paid out for him not to be there, that whole situation. But the NFL draft is long, and I think this year was the first year that I watched so many rounds of it. Um, the NBA draft is, that day, so because there's only, 60 picks, and 30 or 59, 58, however many there is now. So that's a little faster. But the draft gets over extremely fast, and then you start signing undrafted free agents. So that goes by pretty quick. But the NFL draft, yeah, that's a long one. Exciting though.
Well, and speaking of NFL draft, the other big signing this week, or maybe it was last week, but Jaden Higgins signed with the Texans. Of course, he was the 34th pick, second rounder. And what made that signing interesting is that he's the first second round pick in NFL history to receive a guaranteed contract.
That's what I
That
love.
I think that says a lot about Iowa State and the type of player that he is, and really what the Texans are looking to do with him to be able to give him
Right,
that money and to guarantee it. 4 year, $11 million.
right. That's definitely a blessing for sure. Um, he performed extremely well all year long, and he performed, in front of the eyes that he needed to. He was drafted by the Texans, and you know the rest is history. So we wish him the best of luck for sure. I got quite a few jerseys that I'm trying to finagle this year to see if I can find them in my size. But I'm very excited about what's going to be happening this year for the Cyclones in the NFL and around the nation.
Well, and you may need to look around for some jerseys. So I think you can be pretty comfortable in getting your Brock Purdy jersey. Just don't wear it when they're playing the Raiders. I understand that. But now that he's found a home for the next 6 seasons, you could probably go ahead and get your Higgins jersey. Looks like he's going to be jersey number 82. And then Jaden Knoll is going to be, or Jalen Knoll is going to be number 81. So back to back. I can't remember what X was. Was he like number 0 for the Texans? I'm going to have to go look that up.
Hmm.
It's one of those things where I'm out. The NFL is a little bit out of my mind here, except for these big signings. So not only do we have Brock making history, and of course Higgins making history, um, really sends a message to all players: come play at Iowa State. You're going to get drafted. You're going to make some money too.
Yeah, you're going to play in a tough league, one of the toughest leagues in football, and you're going to get some great coaching, and you're going to come from a culture that that they're looking to implement into the pros a lot more than they probably overlooked in the past, and it's a great feeling, definitely to be a Cyclone. We're not the laughing stock of football, NCAA football anymore. They really, really respect us, and you know, I always say it on the license plate, and I, run into a lot of people, yell out the window, "Go Cyclones," and things like that. So it's a great feeling to see for sure.
Are you allowed to get personalized plates in Nevada?
Yeah, but on my truck, I got personalized plates for my company.
Oh, do you? Okay. I
Yeah,
was going to say you should get some just simply clones.
yeah. No, just on my truck, the other truck belongs to the missus, and she has her um Habitat. What is it? Habitat for Humanity vanity plates,
All right.
and so
Well, and on top of these signings, remember that Tyrese Halliburton just signed a huge contract as well. I think he's near 42, $44 million a year. So between just Brock and Tyrese, you're talking about $100 million for two players at Iowa State. That should make the We Will Collective and maybe the
uh,
Alumni Association pretty happy.
it's a great time to be a pro athlete right now with the revenues.
Yes, it is. We were talking about jersey numbers. I probably should go back. Will McDonald with the Jets is changing back to the familiar number
This
9
one,
that he wore with Iowa
nine.
State. He wore 99 his first 2 seasons with the Jets, and so I saw on I think it was on Twitter or something the Jets posted that he's reverting back to number 9 for his third season with the Jets.
Did somebody else have nine before?
Yeah, that's a good question. Not sure.
I mean, he was a high pick, so I wouldn't assume that he wouldn't have had his pick of his number if he wanted it, unless some other vet had.
Well, did you see that your what Ashton Genty paid out to get his number 2 with the Raiders?
No, see, some vets do that. Some just give it to
He had to pay 6 figures, so we're at least 100 grand to get the
him. Who
number
was
2.
wearing number two?
I don't know. You're the Raiders guy.
Yeah, I have to look it up. Yeah, I think Chris Webber. I think some vets sometime. Well, he's a rookie, but some of the vets who like I think like Paul George gave a guy like $1 million, or I think Chris Webber did. Like $1 million for or whatever, or a couple hundred grand, or a Rolex watch or something like that. But some just make you pay some, just be like give it up to them.
Throughout your career, did you wear the same number?
I wore 21 because I was going to wear five when I got drafted. They signed Ron Mercer right after that, and he wore five, and he was the vet, so they gave him number five. And so at the time, my two children that I had at the time, my oldest son was 2, and my daughter below him was 1. So I
Oh,
wore 21 in honor of them, and then eventually, once I went overseas, I switched to 53, which stands for Trust God, TRUST, 5 GOD 3. So that's a lot of what number implications and stuff that we have now, tattoos of it and stuff on the cars and stuff like that. So
all right.
evolution of numbers. I wouldn't give
And
nobody $1 million for the number.
how much would you have paid to get the number
Nothing.
you wanted? Nothing?
Nothing.
You would not.
It's
Well, you had the chance, I
it's
guess, with Ron Mercer, right?
yeah. It's not. I mean, I get it. If it's a whole like Paul George 13, PG 13, I get that. Andre Carolico, AK-47, or Austin Reeves, AR-15, like that. I mean, my initials MF. Like, where am I going with that? Whatever number you
I can think of a few.
throw this one. Well, but nothing that rings. But no, I mean, it is what it is. Give me a number, give me a ball.
In other news in basketball, it was announced, I believe, yesterday that Creighton and Iowa State have agreed to a 2-year exhibition series where the Clones will go to play at Creighton in
I like
exhibition
that.
on October 17th, and then Creighton will come to Ames at some point in 2026.
I
What are your
like
thoughts?
that.
That's pretty cool. Of
Yeah,
course,
that's
coached
that's
by
that's a
former
nice matchup.
Cyclone coach
Mm-hmm.
Greg McDermott, and I
All
think
right,
TJ was an assistant under McDermott as well.
that's gonna be a good matchup. Coach McDermott always have some, really, really good teams there. They kind of mirror each other in terms of, the culture and how hard, the Cyclones play and the way they play in Creighton. So that's going to be an exciting game to see. You said
So
exhibition. So is that like before conference, or is it just like,
it doesn't count against your standing. It's a glorified
uh,
scrimmage. So,
ah,
back in the day, there's
I
these
don't like those.
barnstorming teams that would play athletes in action,
Mm-mm.
marathon oil. Did you ever play teams like that as an
Yeah, it's just
exhibition when you were playing?
I've heard. No, we played against actual, the collegiate teams, but I've heard things like that before. But yeah, I'm not too crazy about games like that.
No. Well, I'm hoping these will be televised because since it has been announced, and I think in the last couple of seasons the Cyclones have played Northwestern and Creighton in these secret scrimmages that are somewhat secret. You don't know any of the details behind it. I'm hoping they go back to the visual piece where it's broadcast, whether it's on the internet or on TV for us fans to be able to watch. Because you're right, those are two top quality programs in the
Right.
country that you love to see face off, knowing that hey, it doesn't matter who wins or loses, but just to see how your team plays against that type of talent.
I'd rather for it to count. I mean, up to ante. I mean, seriously, like that. You make it where it counts. That's going to, iron sharpens iron. Put it out there. We're gonna play what we're gonna play, even if shit in the neutral spot. Take it to drink or whatever the case may be in the neutral spot. But I would rather see it count than it just be an exhibition because at that point, how much are the guys gonna play? I want to see that be a all out to the end game because it's gonna be two teams that's gonna eventually be in the NCAA tournament. So why not?
Yeah, I would agree to an extent. The only challenge I would address is the fact that there's going to be a lot of newer players that are going to be mixed in that you want to see how they react under pressure situation, but yet not have it count, I guess, from a win-loss perspective with so early in the season. Yes, I would love to see that game in January before the Big 12 season starts or late
Or
December.
that, yeah, yeah,
But again, with all the new guys on the team, I don't know. I like it, and I guess I would just love to see it on TV.
yeah.
Emily Ryan, a friend of this podcast, was announced that she is going to be a graduate assistant with the women's basketball team. So
Congrats, congrats.
imagine looking over and having Emily Ryan as your assistant coach. How cool is that? Like,
Cool for who?
well, I think it'd be cool for
Exactly.
everybody, and uh, she's one of those players that I think that she aspires to be a coach, and
Mhm.
she's been a coach on the court. So I think this will be great for her. One question is, do you think that she gets a chance to practice with the team at all? Like, could the Iowa State women bring in some men to play against, practice against, scrimmage against, and
What? It
they've been doing that for 20 years. So
right.
do you throw Emily Ryan there at point guard with that team?
Well, it all depends on she's not playing anymore, so now you got to look into how much of shape she wants to be. It's the difference in being in shape and being in playing shape. It's totally two different things. Like you can have 4% body fat, but don't have any kind of stamina, and the trade off is just the same. So it just depends on how much she's still in shape or playing shape. And I'm sure that she would be out there doing things that, Coach Finley and the rest of them can't do with the ball. So, that definitely will help a lot. But like I said, we have to see.
Well, and I know Brent has talked a little bit about having some of his position and coaches and even Mac putting his hands down in the dirt and showing off some skill in football. But
Yeah, but how
and
many reps, though? I mean, Coach Floyd will put the ball on the floor a few different times. And after the third or fourth dribble, I'm like, man, you got to get that thing up. Like, that ain't exactly what you do no more if
I
you
would
ever
pay to
did it.
I would pay to see that, and I would pay to see Coach Eustace out there scrimmaging. Something tells me
Nah.
that wasn't happening, but I would
Larry
pay
was
to see
always
that.
Larry was always in good shape. He spent more time on a treadmill. He had the biggest calf muscles ever. His calves were bigger than mine. So we always thought that he could either jump or could run really, really fast. But he never got out there. Like Tim would do more ball handling. Of course, Coach Perry, Lyndon Perry, was the ex-player, and he could play point guard and everything like that. So he still had a little bit of it. But no, those other guys, after 2 or 3 dribbles, I think it was coming off Tim's foot going somewhere. I'm like, man, leave that alone. Leave that alone.
All right. In a game, hypothetical one-on-one matchup between Eustace and Floyd, who wins?
I'd say Coach Floyd.
Really?
Yeah. Because I do know he played a little, from what they both say, he played a little bit more than Larry did. So I'd say Coach Floyd.
That would be awesome.
That's what they said.
That's what they. Okay, so you're taking them for their word that
Yeah.
that's a mad skill.
I don't know how awesome it would be to see it. I mean, it'd be a sight for sore eyes for sure.
Maybe that's the next reunion show that they come back and have a little one-on-one in Hilton during halftime of one of the
Oh
games.
my God. Well, they'll sell out the arena to watch that.
All right, so I've got. I kind of teased this. I've got a gift for you and for Brent. I'm going to give you your gift after the break. And for those of you who are watching, you can fast forward to jump to the YouTube version of this so you can take a look at it. So we'll hear a couple words from our sponsors, and we'll return on the other side for you, Marcus.
Making great tasting bourbon requires the perfect combination of ingredients, conditions, and time. The longer it rests, the better it tastes. Revelton Distillery's new single barrel bourbon is made from 80% corn, sourced 100% from Iowa farmers. And unlike mass-produced bourbons, each barrel of Revelton's single barrel bourbon is unique, proofed on when it tastes best. As they like to say, it'll be ready when it's ready. And to ensure the highest standards of quality and flavor, owners Rob and Christy Taylor oversee the production and bottling. Every single barrel. Iowa born, Iowa aged, Iowa bottled. Try the new single barrel bourbon from Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com. When energy meets precision, anything is possible.
I'm Carter Hawley, the Chief Energy Officer of the Iowa State Cyclones. I'm full of energy on and off the court, but nothing gives me more energy than helping families find their dream home. And that's where Green Beret Realty comes in. They're more than just realtors. They're a team dedicated to getting things right for you and your family, just like we get it right on the court. Sometimes it takes a team to get the call right. And when you're buying a home, you want a team that makes all the right calls. That is Green Beret Realty. And here's the best part. When you buy or sell a home through Dan at Green Beret Realty and mention this ad, he'll make a donation to the We Will Collective, helping student athletes like me thrive on and off the court.
Green Beret Realty, because getting the call right means everything.
All right, Marcus, we are back to the side of the storm, and as usual, I've got my Revelton. I'm getting a little low. I'm gonna have to get out and buy some more at Hy-Vee Wine and Wall of Spirits or whatever it's. That's bad advertising, but Revelton has some great products, and better yet for you, Marcus, they're going to start selling in more states, so you should be able to get that relatively soon.
Nice.
As well as the other states in the country. I think they're expanding to 42 other states with some law changes that should be taking shape here shortly. All right, so we tease this. Have you been following any of the other Three Beards podcasts and shows?
Not as much as I should. I mean, I don't have a lot of time, You know, if I come across it on YouTube, not YouTube, Twitter and stuff, or X, you know, I will watch it, but not as much as I should.
So the reason I ask is that Chris Shipley has been doing something with Bill
Who?
and Will, uh, with Bill and Willie's workshop, who's another one of our podcasts. If you haven't taken a look or listened to them, please do so. They just had a show last night. I actually attended that. It was a live show out at Iowa Distilling. And what Chris has been doing is been creating these visuals or these toy figures of Bill and Willie. Okay. So I asked ChatGPT and I gave it some directions to create an action figure that looks like you. And some of this, do you recall 2 weeks ago on our last show, what you said your favorite superhero was?
Mhm.
All right. There we go.
Look at the pizza pit. Shout
So
out to Pizza Pit.
we if Chris is able to or if I'm able to, I'll tweet it out. But this was
Nice.
yeah. I tried to change the Iowa State logo and Chat GPT did not like it. And so it is what it is. And yeah, we've included the pizza pit. So the infamous story where you drove all the way to Iowa for your wife to get her
True
pizza
story.
pit. True story,
True
and you
story.
have an affinity for Pizza Pit, so we've included that. Of course, you're looking an awful lot like the Incredible Hulk, and physically, you look a lot like you did in college and in the NBA. Now
Yeah,
you
that body right there has been long gone. Trying trying to get a little bit closer back to that, but that right there, that was 20, 25, 26 years ago body.
all right. So I did the same thing for Brent. What the heck? We'll just put it up here. So here, I actually did two of him. So here's the first one. It's a softer version of Brent.
Gave him some
Um,
of the
yeah,
the superhero, the
yeah.
superhero.
Remember for him, his superhero was Mighty Mouse.
Yeah.
So they got the black cape and the red. He kind of looks like what's that? The incredible Hulkster from WWE because he's got the yellow shorts and the red.
He
And
just don't have on the tank top, the plastic tank top to rip off.
yeah, yeah. Of course, Chat GPT knows he's from Texas, so they included the insignia of Texas on his shirt there. Now, the coach's kolaches is just
I
over his
see.
shoulder, as well as a simple football helmet that says clones on it. And
Uh-huh.
so I asked GPT to come up with or replace that logo with something that was more Iowa State and the Sinado. So when I did that, though, it changed what Brent looked like a bit. Let's see if you can tell a difference.
Oh yeah, that changed him a lot.
Yeah, now that looks like a superhero. Like he's been working out, he's all buff there. And I don't know what happened with the other logo or with the other visual that he was a little soft, a little pudgy around the middle.
and then the more elongated coach's kolaches.
Yeah.
What's that say? 133 miles.
All right. So I was messing around on myself, and for some reason, it included a Garmin watch that I was working on, and it included it in his package. I
Yeah.
honestly don't know why.
What Chat GPT version are you using?
I
This is
couldn't
the
tell
free
you.
version?
Oh yeah, it's free. Yeah, because you ask so many questions, you ask it to edit further.
Yeah.
It'll say, "Oh, you've reached your maximum for the day. Come back in
Well,
24 hours."
oh, see, I pay for my Chat GPT like $20 a month.
Right.
And I literally for business, like I literally talked to that. My London asked me all day long, "Dad, who are you talking to?" Like I literally be talking to my phone like I'm really talking to someone, and I was working on business proposals before we hopped on the pod, from where it's giving you step by step. Like I, that's the best $20 a month that I've ever spent, and I religiously pay for it. Well,
It
because it
does
gives you
some
everything that you need,
it does some
and it
remarkable things. So
does a lot of good things.
Brent's just going to have to see it in replay or in. I'll be honest, he's probably working long hours. So I was up at the. He shared the best time to go to the farmers market in Des Moines on Saturdays is 7 to 9, and he was spot on. Went down there. It was a little chilly on Saturday, but got up early. Went for my run Friday night. Got up early Saturday. Was probably down there by 7:30, and it was it was good to walk around. Saw Brent, but then by 9:30, it was packed. It was like the mall during Christmas season. Not a lot of fun. So I got in and got out. Got my kolaches from there, and then I actually went in earlier this week. It was, for those of you who don't know, I work in human resources, and it was International HR Day, so I got some kolaches to help celebrate with my team
Nice.
at our staff meeting on Tuesday. So Brent's taking good care of me.
Good to
So
see business is booming too.
yeah, doing really well as long as he can get those ovens fixed. I think he had some problems a couple weeks ago where they were out of order and he had to close down. Wasn't able to
Mm.
make anything, but yeah, they're back. They're back. So stop in, see Brent either in the store or on Saturday down at the farmers market. And actually, I think there's a West Des Moines farmers market on Thursdays that he's going to be at as well. So I hear in your background, I'm looking over my shoulder at the Eastern Conference Finals. We've got
Yeah,
our Cyclone, Mister Overrated,
Mr.
Tyrese Halliburton.
Overrated.
He and the Pacers beat the top-seeded Cleveland Cavaliers 4 games to 1, and now they're facing off against the New York Knicks, the 4 seed against the 3 seed. Who you got between the Knicks and the
Um,
Pacers?
of course, I'm going to go for my young clone. But I still think that they're the tougher team. I don't think New York would have gotten past Boston if JT wouldn't have gotten hurt. I still thought that the dynamic of how strong that Celtic team was. It was a big loss losing him. So um, they played two wounded teams, I guess you would say, or whatever at the end. But I think the Pacers have been playing overall better. They finished the season earlier. They finished the last series, excuse me, earlier, and so they're a little bit more rested. They're on the road, and they're down by four, or what I'm saying now. So if he can keep it close, we've seen them do some incredible things this postseason as well as last season, and I'm in the mindset of thinking that they're going to slip this one out to advance to the final.
Well, and I'm really looking forward to it. Not just because Tyrese is in it, but it really gives that nostalgic feeling of the old NBA back in the 90s where Reggie Miller, Rick Smits facing
Hmm.
off against Patrick Ewing and John Starks and Spike Lee sitting on the sidelines.
Oh, he's there
That's
now.
really this is fun to watch. It's bringing back some of that history of the NBA for a new generation.
Yeah, two tough ball clubs that's going to claw and fight for everything. I think it's going to go 7 games for sure. It's going to be that type of atmosphere that ultimately you need going into the NBA Finals. You want those type of games to see. Um, in the West, of course, I'm going for my Thunder. I don't think that one's going to be as close as this one is going to be, but we'll see what happens.
We talk a lot on this show about our text chain, and you made reference to Jason Tatum's injury. You spotted it right then. I mean, you called
Mhm.
it Achilles. What were your signs? What did you see that said, yeah, this isn't going to be good?
Well, there's a couple of different telltale signs. Sometimes when you see things like that, especially football players who wear the high socks, or if they wear the leggings that go all the way down the leg, when there's that non-contact push off, you can look at the calf and see that tendon, pop, explode up into the calf. That's one of the first signs. One of the other signs is even my brother Lorenzo Tobin that passed away last summer. He tore his Achilles a couple years ago, and he said, man, I was hooping. It felt like somebody kicked me, and you saw with Dame, you saw with a lot of guys when it occurred, they turn around and look because it feels like somebody kicked them, and then I guess they feel the pain and they come off of it, and you know immediately that it's the Achilles. Um, and I guess the next sign will be just how disgusted the player is, because right then and there, if you hurt your knee, sometimes that could be, or maybe it's a meniscus or something like that. Hopefully, it's not an ACL. When you pop that Achilles, once that thing ruptures, immediately. And I don't think JT was in. I can't say what kind of pain that he was in. I think he was in more pain of the realization of, man, we not, we were pushing to, 42 points going into the fourth quarter. We're pushing to, win this game and to get to the finals again. But, immediately then it's over. And, those were the three things that I saw. Once you go down like that, you look back and you grab the back of that ankle, it's 100% an Achilles. You remember when KD tore it, when he, shot it and he stepped and he turned around and looked because everyone said it feels like not so much of an intentional kick, but maybe like if somebody tripping over you and you trying to look and see what's going on, and before you know it, it's the Achilles.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's one of those
So,
things where, especially as a basketball player, I mean, you're running up and down that court, you're twisting and turning and pivoting, and
mhm.
just that's a pretty important ligament to have that it takes a lot to recover from. And so hopefully his surgery goes well and he's able to get back sooner rather than later. It feels like in some of those injuries, though, while you may come back
Well,
after 6 or 8 months, you're really not the same for another full year.
it's been a lot. I I I have been personally wondering all of the different and I saw the procedure that they did with Aaron Rodgers,
Hmm.
and now they're doing a different procedure, just like the ACL surgery has gotten like healed better. I mean, I tore my ACL 3 times and I still played 15 years of pro basketball. There was a time in the 90s if you tore your ACL one time, your
You're
career was over.
done. Yeah.
So, now the different things that they've done, I think the way that Deshaun Watson did at first wasn't the way that Aaron Rodgers did, and then he had the re-injury, and the second time they did it a better way, which typically have you out a little bit longer, but you know, being a professional athlete, you're better off doing it that's going to give you the opportunity to maximize your potential coming back. And I think KD had it the exact same way. And the way he moves, of course, he's not one of the heavier players in league history, but the way he moves and everything, you can even tell that he, tore his. So, hopefully he's able to bounce back and do the same. They're definitely not going to run. We're going to call next year a complete wash. There's no point at all in bringing them back next season at all. Just wipe that off the books for the entire next year. Hell, even if you play Jalen Brown apparently during the entire next year while you're rebuilding the team and all of that, because they're going to have to make some moves there with the contracts and stuff that they have there. So, focus on rebuilding that team all next year, and then, see what comes, 26, 27.
So you sit him. You're the GM. You would sit Jason Tatum.
Oh, absolutely, all year long. There's
Okay.
Jason Tatum would not see the basketball floor at all in the NBA game next year. I guarantee you, it's no point at all. I mean, we were in the playoffs this year when he ruptured it.
Hmm.
They're not going to have the same team. It's not the year before where they won it. This team that they had this year was a little different from that team, and they're not going to have that team next year. So it'd be pointless to even put him out on the floor. He's going to be on the floor once he gets healed, getting shots up and warming up, and there's going to be speculation. But you'd be hard pressed to see him touch the floor at all next year. For what?
So you made reference about tearing your ACL several times. So
Mhm.
what, who dictates the return? Is it more the athlete or more the or the training staff? I mean, how much say do you
Um,
have as a professional athlete to say, no, I want to push this up and come back sooner, or
well, no,
no, I
it's
would rather sit.
what the you have to pass. You have to pass different protocols from the doctors and everything like that. Jim Andrews, the doctor of the stars, is the one that did both my ACLs when I did it with the Bulls. And you have to go. You have to fly down to Health South or to his facility, and he put you through these batteries of tests, strength tests, and things like that, mobility and all of that, in order for him to clear you to go back home and start doing some training, and then for the team to clear you. Now what the salaries are what they are now. That is probably amplified times 10. And that's just the case that it is. I mean, Jason just signed for what, $990 million or something crazy. So if they would rather pay him 60 million a year to sit while he's rehabbing than to pay him 60 million, bring him back early, and then he hurts himself again. So it all plays into the process, a whole team of things. Contrary to what people believe, all of the reports was being put out, about injuries and things like that. Those NBA doctors, those trainers, they're not going to put out any kind of false report, because at the end of the day, that's their career. If Jason Tatum leaves that organization, or if LeBron leaves, or if you know um, Anthony Edwards leaves the Wolves, those trainers and those doctors pretty much still going to be at that on that team. So they're still going to do the things, or they're going to put out the information that's accurate, because now it's still about their career. They're not going to let anything, no matter how fast a player wants to come back. All of the low management stuff, majority of that, I would say 75 to 85 to 95% beat on the organization and the team telling them, listen, we're going to rest you tonight, no matter if you want to play or not. We're going to rest you tonight. And that's just, the final call of it. If that player, after the trainer and the doctors say that he's not going to go in tonight and go out there and try to play, then, that player is going to get fined heavily. And, there's going to be ramifications for the doctors and the trainers too. So it never gets that far. It's just a lot of different misconceptions about the things to do. But at the end of the day, it's a business, and they're going to protect that bottom line without a doubt.
So as we start to wrap up, speaking of business, the NFL announced that the owners have approved for their players to play in the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles in the flag football piece, which is going to be a new sport for the Olympics. Uh, how we just had this conversation about it being a business. How excited would you be as a Raiders fan to have your top players playing in the Olympics, playing flag football?
Well, I think it's going to come down to what guys ultimately say that they're going to play. You know, um, some guys really gear up for that. I mean, I guess it's the same as basketball. I mean, even though the guys aren't tackling, playing flag basketball, they're still shooting hoops. So, it's for your country. Guys really do get up for that, but a lot of guys, just like the Pro Bowl and things like that, don't care about it. In the NBA All Star game, a lot of guys don't play. So it just depends on how that player feels, um, how big the sport ultimately becomes. Of course, in basketball, it's about the gold medal. Gold medal. I don't know how it is in flag football, but I assume there's going to be a gold medal. You know how the United States love to
Yeah.
chase those, so I can see that happening.
I wish Brent were on because he coaches a lot of the 7-on-7
Hmm.
on the weekends and whatnot. But isn't the NFL just too different of a sport from flag football? I mean, does that translate where we can take NFL players and put them into a flag football environment? And remember, we already have a national flag football team. How do those players feel about the possibility of NFL players taking their spots in the Olympics when these guys have been working for this for years, and they're
Yeah.
on the cusp of being in the actual Olympics, and now being told, yeah, we may bring in Ashton Genty or Brock Purdy or somebody to play the flag football.
Well, I guarantee you the rookie is not going to be there.
Well, but
Uh,
2028. I mean, that's what, 3 years away.
oh yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. That's kind of in hindsight when you think about that. That's a tough situation. But again, we got to see how many guys are actually going to be excited to do that. I would think more so the first time is going to be a ton of guys. Then it's going to eventually, mellow out to the fact of it's like, this is okay. And if
Yeah,
something happens, someone get injured, and then of course they're gonna try to shut it down. But
yeah.
you
It'll be
know,
like the Pro Bowl where everyone wants to go, but then, yeah, I don't want to play.
yeah, the most exciting thing I've seen the owners come out with is the tush push not being canceled. That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous, huh? I'm glad they did. You prefer they did?
I, I think that I think you just got to stop it. Like
I think
what
you
I'm
got to
afraid,
stop it.
yeah, I'm afraid the NFL becomes rugby. Don't get me wrong, and every play is a tush push, but right now, not every play is a tush push.
Right.
And it's fascinating that the Eagles and the Bills, but really the Eagles, have such a
Really, really.
high success rate for getting first downs with that one play. It's astonishing. And you're right. Stop it.
Well, you gotta
Figure out a way to
have
stop it.
what the offensive line, the offensive line alone. If your quarterback and your running back squats, a ton between the two of them, yeah, you can imagine how much weight the front line is pushing, and it just comes, it comes down to, okay, well, I got, so and so got three fouls, or Tyson Chandler got 3 fouls, and I got to come in and try to, do some fouls on Shaq. If we can't stop them, we just got to try. You just got to try to stop them. You can't you can't punish an organization or a team or a player because they're stronger than, and they're able to do a move or a play that's successful. You just have to stop it. Like you said, the Bills do it with great success rate. That's because, Josh Allen is just a human of a tank of a quarterback. But even he doesn't squat as much as Jalen Hurts. So,
I I heard he
practice it
squats
and
600 pounds. Jalen
boom.
Hurts.
That's
I,
absolutely ridiculous.
is that
It's,
incredible? I don't know
yeah,
if it's true or not, but
it is.
600 pounds
It,
is
it is him and Saquon. Him and Saquon like go back and forth. He's like who's the highest? Like they and then Saquon tore his ACL and he's right back to squatting that much. So I get it. Like you said, every play is not the touch push. It's not like they doing it for 4 downs. Stop them from getting to those inches or that 1 inch or that 1 yard to do the touch push.
yeah.
That's the biggest thing that you got to be concerned with. Once they get on the goal line, if you can't stop it, then score the point.
Well, and I can coming back to the Olympics. I can understand the appeal why NFL owners would want their players. It would make me nervous. You're making
Of course,
55, $60 million. I don't want you getting hurt because of that investment. And
right,
where I make my money is off my team.
right,
But in terms of growing the NFL, growing the NFL audience, which I don't know how much more it could grow, but to be able to grow that, the Olympics seems like a natural to try to get some players in, at least in this first year of flag
yeah.
football.
That's what I think it is. I think it's the initial filler and see how it happens. Um, knock on wood, no stars or anyone get injured. If someone does, it's definitely gonna, teeter off from being this whole hoopla of what it was when it was first announced.
Well, and with America's infatuation with reality TV, how about we have sort of a, a training camp version of Hard Knocks involving which team that we put into the Olympics? We take the national team against the NFL team in a series of flag football. Maybe it's a best out of three or something like that. and treat it like Hard Knocks, where they play every other day or something like that, and we get to see behind the scenes. What do you think
The
about that?
NFL guys are still going to win.
Yeah, whoever wins the best of three represents the country in the Olympics playing flag football.
That's going to be the NFL guys.
Is it?
It's going to be like it's going to be the NFL guys. Like it's not in a like a braggadocious or whatever. Like as good as I thought I was as a high school player and as a collegiate player, once I got to the pros, like I really understood like my game and how good I was and how like even when we trained with Tim Grover, and Michael Jordan and the rest of those guys, Antoine Walker, Jamal Crawford, all those guys, when we trained together, like we played to 7 baskets. And if you miss one shot, your team missed one shot. I mean, you weren't gonna you'd be hard pressed to see 2 missed shots. And so even when he brought in like overseas pros or top level collegiate players and stuff, it's just no match. It's just no match. It's just a different level of a pro level that not to take away from the other guys because guys overseas are playing great basketball or making a lot of money and all of that, but it's just a different level. It's just a different level, heightened level of skill set. And the NFL is the NFL for a reason. I know people talking about it's political and all that different stuff, but there's a reason why you are in the NBA versus being somewhere else. Albeit you have EuroLeague teams like when I played Maccabi Tel Aviv, which is like an NBA team in Europe for the EuroLeague. Even when we came to play the New York Knicks for a preseason game, and we had 7 or 8 NBA guys on the team. We had 3 NBA starters, and then we had to have 2 Israeli guys that was on the court. But it was just a different level, even though it was a preseason, game, and we got blown out by the Knicks, who weren't a good team that year. It's just a different level of pros, and I think the NFL guys are ultimately going to win out if that were to happen.
But you'd watch it, wouldn't you?
I'll watch it for a little bit, then these guys don't have a chance. Like it's like watching a preseason game to where it'd be exciting for a little bit.
All right. So we're going to close out. And just a quick note, not sure if you heard Marcus in Las Vegas, but Iowa State President Dr. Wendy Winterstein announced that she is retiring on January 1st of 2026. So the Iowa State will be starting a search for its next president. And we certainly wish them the best of luck and thank Dr. Winterstein. I've met her a few times and she's just a very delightful person. And, between her and Jamie Pollard, they've managed so much in the last 15 years. Well, and she's only been there for 9 years, but during her stretch as president, there's been so much that has gone on in the changing landscape of NCAA athletics and the NIL movement and the pay for play now and shifting of conferences that we got to give her some kudos and hats off for her efforts and working with Jamie to really position Iowa State in the best way possible. That has positioned us to where we are today and really having such a solid foundation for an athletics program. So hats off to you, Dr. Winterstein, and wish you all the best. And obviously we've got another 6-7 months of her with us, but thought that was worth doing a quick call out.
Yeah, congratulations. You're going to definitely send her out with a football bowl win.
Yeah. Oh, or even a championship, national championship sounds great.
That championship would sound amazing.
And hey, we're only 3 months and 3 days away from football season kicking off in Ireland.
Oh wow!
So
I'm
it's
2 days
right
from
around the
these kids
corner.
being out of school for good, so I'm looking forward to the summer.
All right, so Marcus, it's been good to see you. We will
You
be
too,
back
brother.
at it in a couple weeks. Hopefully Brent will be with us again. Thanks for everyone for joining us on In the Side of the Storm. It really is a privilege and to be here. And again, remember our sponsors, because without them, this would not be possible. So Revelton Distilling Company, Rob and Christy Taylor, as well as Greenberry Realty, and of course our studio sponsor on Andrew Downs and AKC Marketing. Have a good night, everyone, and go Cyclones.
Well, Cyclones.
There's a cyclone brewing on the outskirts tonight. Jack Track shakes when the team takes flight. Hilton's rocking, hear the magic call. We rise together, we'll never fall. There's a cyclone brewing on the outskirts tonight. Jack Track shakes when the team takes flight.